What if every day on your ride home from work you came across an old car or truck that sparked your imagination? Well, if your name is Craig Morrison of Morrison Enterprises, you don't wait. You go up and you buy it. And then you take it home and you fit it with a custom chassis, suspension, and engine, and you make it into an unbelievable pro touring / resto mod hot rod truck. That's exactly what we have here with this 1950 Chevrolet. So this is Big Muscle. Stay tuned.
What we have here is a 1950 Chevrolet 3100 pickup truck that we built at Morrison Enterprises to showcase our new chassis for the 1947 to 1953 Chevy trucks. The drivetrain of this particular project truck that we built is a GM Performance Parts turnkey HO 350 crate motor, and from GM it comes complete with the carburetor, air cleaner, oil in the oil pan, a front drive system. I mean, it's a really great, complete package. But we wanted to kind of play with that a little bit, and we put a new camshaft and lifters to boost the horsepower a little bit. And then we used a vintage air front runner setup, a serpentine kit that kind of packaged everything tight and down in front of the engine. And then used the Atomic EFI from MSD, and that piece has been just absolutely phenomenal. For transmission, we used a Hughes Performance 4L60E overdrive automatic, and is completely controllable and programmable for as far as shift points and when you want the converter to lock up and all that sort of thing. And then out back, it's one of our own manufactured 9-inch Ford housings with a strange engineering third member with 350-to-1 ring and pinion gear and what they call a true track, which is sort of instead of it being an actual gear pack, like limited slip differential, it uses gears so it's not so harsh when it locks and unlocks.
Submissions for Big Muscle for just about everything. I mean, we've got endless submissions coming in by email, Facebook, and everything else. So when our buddy Craig Morrison called us and said, listen, we just built a really, really cool 1950 Chevy sport truck, we couldn't turn it down. You know, Craig and Morrison build some of the coolest and best custom chassis in the business. And we've known these guys for a long time. When they call you and they offer up a car or a truck to you, you generally don't say no for the simple fact that it's going to be really, really good. And we know this. So you may ask yourself, why did Craig start with a 1950 Chevy pickup truck? I mean, it's not really a super hot rod style truck. I mean, it is to an extent, but it's not really mainstream. And the reason is this. When Craig was a little kid, his grandfather had a 1948 GMC pickup that was very, very similar to this truck. And growing up out, you know, on a farm, he was telling us stories about when he would stand on the running board at like 7, 8 years old, and his grandfather would take him up the path in the truck. And I mean, it's those kind of memories that make these cars speak to you, which is why we're driving this truck here today. So another reason that Craig wanted to build like a 1940s, 50s truck was that at Morrison Enterprises, they had just developed a chassis for it. And that is actually the chassis that we're riding on right now. And basically what he wanted to create was not a pro touring car, not a resto mod or any buzzword type thing, but just a great chassis that owners could build upon and use as a base to build a great hot rod.
The kit that we make for this truck and also all sorts of other vehicles is a complete package. all the front suspension, all the rear suspension, the disc brakes, the power rack and pinion steering, axles, third member. Basically, it's a complete rolling chassis, just less the tires and wheels. For a bolt-on chassis like this to go from the idea to a finished product is probably about a 4 to 5 month process, where we'll pull the chassis out from underneath the cab, use what's called a ferro arm to actually pick up all the data points along the chassis for engine mounts, body mounts, bumper mounts, all of the critical mounts on the chassis itself. We'll then build a few test chassis to see if they fit and how they work with the body and if they pick up all the points that we need to. From there, then we'll build a jig to be able to repeat that chassis. And so it's quite an involved process, but overall it works out very well for the company.
If you would describe this interior in one word, it would have to be this: simplistic. Everything you need and nothing you don't. The gauges tell you everything from water temp, fuel, oil, voltage, what you want to know in a work truck. The dash, you have a radio in here. You have climate control. And it's done in such a way that it's not overbearing on the driver as far as, you know, kind of sensory overload like so many vehicles are today. I mean, you get like a Ford King Ranch right now, you've got more bells and whistles than most luxury cars. And it kind of takes it away from the feel of a pickup truck. Sometimes there is no mistaking that you're driving a 60-year-old vehicle. For instance, like, visibility in this thing is pretty awful, I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, the way that things are done, like the windshield wipers, they come up and they cut off half your face. So if I close my left eye, my visibility is no better than if I have it open, because the wipers only hit, you know, half the windshield. If you try to look, if you're trying to pass somebody and you look over your left shoulder to see something, you're not going to, because there's a blind spot that's bigger than Roseanne Barr's ass, and it's just, you can't see anything. So what you actually have to do is lean back, look over your shoulder, and then see if there's somebody behind you. It's actually incredible that any of these trucks survived the last 60 years without getting wrapped into a pole. One of the best parts about guys like Craig is he drives this truck. In fact, this truck is his daily driver. The other thing is, you can see it's crappy weather out. So when we called Craig and we were like, dude, you know, it's lousy weather out, his answer was simple. He said, so? That's what we want to hear. A lot of guys will not take their cars out or their trucks out or whatever vehicle they have if it's raining. And guys, it's a car, it's a truck, it's gonna get wet. It does when you put the flipping hose on it. Don't worry about a little rain. Take the cars out and drive them and enjoy them.
It's kind of tough to compare the numbers as far as like the testing that we did just recently with Custom Classic Trucks magazine. The slalom course is 70-foot spacing, so it's not really applicable or comparable to sort of some of the new car stuff, but comparing it to some of the other cars that we have done over the years, it was equivalent to our 55 Chevy that we built, which when we tested that was comparable to like a C5, C6 Corvette in the numbers. And it's pretty phenomenal to say that something like this can go out and corner and slalom and brake very similar to America's sports car.
It's just a fun truck. I mean, even when you jump on it, like you roll into it, I like the way that when you pass people in this thing, they look at you and they see this kind of slam truck. I think their immediate, you know, thought is, oh my God, just another lowrider truck on airbags, which is so not the case on this thing. I mean, coilovers up front and out back, and the fact that it'll pull like, you know, 0.9 on a skid pad and go through a slalom at like 65, 68 miles an hour is beyond impressive. You know, it's pretty great. I mean, it's not the fact that you're going to do it every day, but it's the fact that you know you can do it every day that makes this truck fun and exciting.
the personal history, I think, adds something kind of special to it. And then the other cars that we've done, like the Corvette that you guys tested and the 55 Chevy that was tested as well, the paint and body work is so nice on some of those other cars that we built, and the upholstery is so nice that we can't really do what we did today with it. Go out and drive it and park it in the mud and run over rocks and get it grubby and get the wheels this dirty and that sort of thing. And so to have something like this that you truly can drive everywhere and at any time that you want is a really great and refreshing thing.
So in trying to figure out what this truck really is, we've come to this conclusion. This is the 50-year-old yoga instructor that still looks great in those pants. She's got all the right curves with a little patina around the edges, which means she knows exactly what to do to make you smile every single time you drive her. Guys, this was a great day, great week, great everything on Big Muscle today, despite the weather. So as always, tune in next week for another great episode of Big Muscle right here on Drive.
We actually had two guys come in the booth that told a great story. They said, gosh, you know, we were out watching the autocross and we saw this old farm truck out running around and doing really well. Have you guys thought about doing a project like that? Because that was just absolutely bitching. And I kind of started laughing. I said, well, actually that truck is ours and I was driving it.